ladies. I am Lia Vincent, and I am going to break my little mold of having random guests, and I'm having my husband because we are in St. Vincent, and this is Lia and Chris Vincent. We've been having a lot of fun playing off the Vincent thing all week, but we're going to tell you all about Sandals St. Vincent, which is the newest sandals in their whole portfolio. And well, I'll just go ahead and say it right now. This hotel is amazing. So I'm not going to just give you a bunch of BS. I legit really like this hotel, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so let me tell you about this trip. This actually is an award trip for the top sandals producers from the entire world. They told us that the amount of people here, there's 180, and that is Latin America, the UK, Canada, and the US. So we definitely feel very fortunate and excited to be here. The resort just opened the week of Easter, so the very last part of March. So it is super brand new, 6 weeks old. The one thing that's a problem with St. Vincent right now is that the airlift is really hard. And sometimes you have to take 2-3 changes of planes, or maybe even overnight in Miami in order to get to St. Vincent. And that was something that was really neat in our meeting that we had yesterday, where they brought in some of the airline executives, and they're going to be bringing in more planes. Something that was announced yesterday is that there's going to be a nonstop from Charlotte to St. Vincent, which is really exciting for my Oklahoma City clients, because we have a direct flight from Oklahoma to Charlotte, and then so Charlotte to St. Vincent. So that's going to be huge for this island. But being one of only 180-ish travel agents here, with the plus ones, so there's a little under 400 people here on property, and it's been pretty awesome. What do you think, Chris?
Oh, I think the thing that has really sold me on this location are the people. I think the people here are just incredible. I think they go above and beyond the hospitality, the friendliness. I love going places where English is more of the first language, because that way it's so much easier to have a conversation, to joke around with them, to be jovial. I was telling them I love to research history before going to different places, so I looked in, of course, to St. Vincent, and with relation to our namesake, but they actually declared their independence in 1979, which I'm very close to that year because that was the year I was born.
So it's like a sign from God that we should be here. And Chris really likes to do things that irritate people, so.
Yeah, it's one of my gifts.
Welcome to my life. So what they did in order, going back to the airlift conversation, what they did is they chartered 2 jets from Miami to St. Vincent. I forget what the name of the company, global something. But anyways, it was so cool to be on a plane with all travel agents and their plus ones. They served us a meal, and it was about a 3-hour flight from Miami to St. Vincent. But I mean, honestly, I hear people in the travel agent community will say, and I feel like they're just negative Nancy's a little bit. Sandals doesn't like travel agents and that kind of thing. And I'm like, who else does this? Y'all, who charters a plane to take your top producers to a resort? And what they did is they closed down the resort for 5 nights. We have the entire resort to ourselves. They chartered a plane, closed down the resorts. They've flown in amazing artists. Tonight is Sugar Ray. Last night, it was a band from Barbados. He talked to him for a little bit. Tell about the band.
The band was incredible. It was 2 Mile Hill, and I got to talk to all the band members. It was super nice, very outgoing. So they actually play music tours all over the world. I never realized this, and they're very famous. They have their own streaming music channel. But when there's a giant, international music festival in Europe, and they're looking for bands from all over the world, this is the top band that they use for Barbados.
Barbados, yeah. I do like pretty much everywhere I go, and I try to keep my travel agent hat on. Like, what would my clients like? Who would like this? Because not everybody would like this. Like, if you wanted like a raging party hotel, this is not going to be your cup of tea. But like, this one has really kind of taken my breath away. More so than any other hotel that I've been to in a really long time. So I think it's definitely something people should put on their list. If you're a sandals person, so I'm gonna talk about things that are different about this one than other Sandals. I know I've talked about Sandals when I was at Sandals Duns River. We talked about Sandals, and when I went to Curacao. So we could always talk about, the basics of Sandals, but let me tell you what this one is different, and I think that would be the most interesting because Sandals were started in 1981 by a man named Butch Stewart, and he was just like a self-made entrepreneur and started with Sandals Montego Bay in Jamaica as a Jamaican man. He passed away during COVID, so it was actually really nice. They did a little thing for him last night, and talked about him. His son now is the chairman, and he talked about his dad during our meeting yesterday. But it's just such a neat company. They own all of their hotels, so it's a lot different than a lot of the other brands where they might be like a management company and really an insurance company owns it, and there's a lot of different levels to actually get to it. Sandals owns their resorts, and they do things a lot different, really more of a true all-inclusive. As far as there's water sports down on the beach we were going to go do later today with kayaks and the little Hobie cats and all of those types of things. But what's different about this one? So this one is the only all-inclusive on the island. That's going to be a lot different than when you go to Jamaica, when you have a lot of choices. We actually did this tour this week that was to the Dark View Falls. And she was like, well, there's one other all-inclusive, and she's kind of building it up. And then it's like the prison that we drove by.
So what I mentioned before about the people being so much fun, and they're just eager to talk and work with you. And on that same trip, I was talking to one of the guides, when we're walking back on the trail, and I said, she was looking up in the trees, around us. And I said, oh, there's monkeys. You're looking at the monkeys there. I know there's no monkeys here. And she said, no, they're illegal. And I said, well, they don't have a passport? I mean, how do they know if they're illegal or not? They don't have the paperwork. And she said to me, are you single? Will you come home with me? And they just love to joke around with you. And so I said, my marriage documents only apply in the U.S., so we're fine.
Oh, my word.
I'm just kidding. But the people are so much fun here. They're so much fun to work with.
So this resort, it's going to take about 45 minutes to an hour to get here from the airport. They actually did a big upgrade on the airport in order for Sandals to be able to come, in order for the jet service. We drove by the old airport. That was pretty old school. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of something you would see like in a Swiss Family Robinson type of old movie, the airport, and then with just this one kind of rickety runway. I mean, maybe it was nicer when it was actually active, but it hasn't been that long. That new airport is really nice. But so 45 minutes to an hour from the airport. And then once you get here, a lot of stuff here is open air. So you walk in the lobby, it's so beautiful. You can see the ocean from the lobby, which is, I think, always a really nice thing to be able to do just after a long day of travel. They have a lot of restaurants here on property, and I've been so impressed with the food. And I don't say that lightly because I'm kind of hard to please on food. I've been very impressed with the food. We went to Butch's. I will say, okay, let me give a little bit of negative feedback. We went to Butch's, which is their like top steakhouse. And they do have a Butch's in a couple of the other Sandals resorts. My friend and I ordered the exact same thing. It was definitely, I think he got the ribeye and I don't know what kind of steak I got. But honestly, by the time I ate all of the sides and the appetizers, I wasn't that hungry, so I didn't say anything. So I was like, whatever, I don't care that much. But the food has been really good. Last night I had some sort of like short rib lasagna. And I was like, I need to figure out how to make short rib lasagna at home because it was so good. And we had really amazing sushi the first night. The yellowtail with the jalapenos on it. It was so good. It was so good. And this is all inclusive. And one thing that is different about Sandals, so this is in general in Sandals, is that everything's included, including gratuity. So their deal is we pay our employees more. We're not like paying them a base amount and hoping that people will tip them in order to make ends meet. We pay people more. So it truly is, you're not walking around tipping and they're not actually allowed to accept a tip. So you really feel like you're not like stuff in your swimsuit with $1 bills to get good service. You just get good service. And that's pretty awesome. The drinks, I think that they're all good. I would say my version of top shelf and their version of top shelf might be a little bit of a gray area. So like for vodka, for example, like they're serving like Tito's. We're not pouring Grey Goose at Sandals, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I was interested to find out that this is actually one of the boating capitals of the world. So St. Vincent and the Grenadines is 32 islands, and it is so unspoiled, untouched, that the boating community, which of course we're not in touch with, but searching online, rave reviews for this area. So one thing that Sandals wanted to offer that's completely different than any of their other locations is a boat service actually from the airport. So I don't believe they have a single Sandals location that's offering this. It's a water taxi. And one of the reasons they wanted to feature that is to showcase the islands and just how beautiful it is.
Well, Adam specifically said, Adam Stewart, the chairman of Sandals, he said that's how he arrived. He said he was on Lady Sandals, which is their yacht. And that's how he first came to St. Vincent and was like, this place is pretty magical. And so that's how he experienced why he wanted to do that. So they're going to offer that for the butler room categories, that you get that complimentary. There's not going to be any charge for the boat transfer from the airport to the resort. The drive from the airport is, if you've ever been to St. Lucia, kind of similar, because there's a lot of mountains here. This resort sits it's like in a valley with the mountains all around. You'll have to check out our YouTube. Chris is making an amazing video with his drone. And that it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, a lot of the pictures and videos you see online, I thought, surely these are doctored up. They've made changes, enhancements, things like that. They have made a few touch-ups. I will admit they're still doing some construction, overwater bungalows and villas and things. But for the most part, I mean, when you get here, it is astounding. They're telling us, it's nestled in between 2 mountains and 2 oceans. So of course the Caribbean and the Atlantic. But there's so many different benefits that you can have, with the excursions and fishing, different variety of fish. So that's another thing I read about was the snorkeling, scuba diving here is known around the world. And that's really just because of how unspoiled and untouched it is. It's really, really remarkable.
One thing with St. Vincent too is that it is an island with an active volcano. That is, exciting and alarming to some. It is something obviously that's monitored. The last time it erupted was in 2021, so not that long ago. And when we went on a hike 2 days ago, it was we were walking and they're like, that's volcano ash. And I picked it up and it was like soft and hot. And it was just, it's really surreal. I mean, totally different than like maybe somewhere like Iceland that just had one that erupted. But it takes over, didn't he say 1/3 of the island?
Yes, he said naturally this entire island is black sand beaches, and that's due to the volcanic activity. And I thought it was so interesting. One of the tours that we got to see while we were here, the headquarters in the Southern Caribbean for the Pirates of the Caribbean when they were filming the movie was actually here. So we got to explore the movie set, the film set. There's a museum that they've kept up there. And I've got some footage, flying outside in the ocean around there. And I looked later online, and those exact rock formations, those things that I saw out in the ocean, right there in the movie itself.
The one where there's like the 3 skeletons that are hanging, that is right here in St. Vincent. We at that location, you walk into this like barn looking thing, and it was really cool. Actually, I was like, oh, I didn't go in there, and Chris goes, yeah, there's a bunch of bats flying around the ceiling.
I was wondering why it smelled like our kids' room at home. It's just kind of smelled a little bit.
They're like, what's this? But inside of there, wasn't that cool?
Oh, it was amazing.
They had laminated it so it would stay, but it was the like crew check-in, so you can see like when Johnny Depp arrived and stuff like that. Were you telling me about Johnny Depp and his yacht that they bought him? Okay, tell that story. That's crazy.
So they were having, of course, with Johnny Depp, and he's a wild man. He's just very out there, very crazy. And any room that they would try and put him in with the other guests. And of course, I heard at the time, of course, he had his own island. And so when he needed to be on set, sometimes he would, have a helicopter take him between the islands and things for filming. But in the, instances where they needed him to be in a hotel and needed him to be close by, he would just wreck the place. He would demolish it. I don't know if he would go on some kind of drunken bender or something. And so they were trying to figure out what to do with him to keep the movie going and filming. And the best thing they could come up with was, this yacht concept. Put him out there in the water.
Where they said you can burn it down for all we care, but stay out there. You're not getting another hotel room. That was so amazing. But so that, all the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff is really cool. And then so when you go in there, you get to see where there's pictures of the crew, but there's also their sign in and sign out and their like kind of schedule for the day and stuff like that on the wall. And then some other memorabilia type of stuff that they said, well, it's probably not exactly how Disney would have left it. I was like, no, this is not Disney level at all. It's like you really felt like you might have been a pirate. And anyways, it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat. And I'm actually not even a Pirates of the Caribbean buff. Like, I think I've seen half of one of them. So if you've watched those movies, you probably would really enjoy that tour. And then it continued on, and we did waterfalls. I would say my only complaint on that, I am not a group tour person because I need like the pace to be like this, like, okay, we're interested in this. Okay. This is cool. Okay. Now let's go to the next thing. And you have to wait for everybody. We're going to be at this stop for 25 minutes and then everybody be back at the bus. That's not my jam, but it is what it is. And they did it for us for free. So I'm not going to complain about that. It's just, if you're more like me, hire a private driver, do that itinerary, just be able to do it at your own pace. There's a lot of really neat little like beach bars and like roadside stands and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff I like to stop at. So I would love to come back and just like hire a driver. They do drive on the left-hand side of the road. So I don't think I would want to personally drive on this island. It was the road to get to the waterfalls reminded me of the road to Hana in Maui, where you have to honk in order to know if a car is coming around the curve, and then you have to kind of get over. So I don't think I would want to drive on the left-hand side. And then that highway would be a very generous word for that road. Sometimes it was even like gravel and dirt.
Oh, and the dogs and the wildlife. And that was one of the funny things about driving here from the airport. And of course, Lia mentioned we had a police escort. So we have all these vans, full of tourists, and the people, that live here in the towns and things. We were thinking, what's going on in their minds, right now? Or is this the prime minister of our country?
But the prime minister came to our meeting yesterday. That is next level. It was like the prime minister, the president of ASTA, which is the American Association or American Society of Travel Advisors, and this has been a really neat experience. But circling back to the resort, let's talk about like who would want to come here. So one thing that I don't know if everybody knows this, but Sandals are for adults. It's couples only. They only have king size beds in a Sandals resort. So you can't, if two girlfriends want to come and share a bed, they don't care. That's totally fine. But it is very much geared to two people in love. They used to be very like, I've noticed over the years, they've really kind of transformed to, whoever's in love, we don't care. Whoever, actually yesterday they said, whoever makes you happy. So the people that I think that would like this hotel, this one thing that you need to keep in mind with Sandals Resorts in general, they're not going to be the cheapest option. So when you're looking at going to a Sandals, you really should consult a travel agent, and we could help you pick the exact Sandals that's going to fit you, because there are some Sandals that are really lively and maybe have a lot more nightlife and lots of things like that. And if that's your jam, then you would want to pick that one. And there's some that are super sleepy and like, read a book and have a frozen drink, and that's your jam. Then there's definitely Sandals for that. I think this one's a good middle. They have a bar called the Rum Club that's open late. It's open, I think, until 1 a.m. normally. we were there until 2 something last night, but when the chairman of Sandals is hanging out with you and on the dance floor with you,
make space for it.
They stayed open until 2. But they have a little bit of everything. This one you can definitely swim on the beach. One tip I would give is to make sure you have sandals and water shoes for when you come to St. Vincent. With a black sand beach, the sand can get really, really hot. And that was also the case with even the cement, like kind of black sand looking cement tile by the pool. It was really hot, like burn your feet. And it's just May, so I can't imagine in like August or September walking, from your pool chair to the pool. So people were wearing their sandals over to the stairs to put, wearing their sandals at Sandals, to go walk and get into the water. When we were on our tour 2 days ago, they told us that we were coming around the corner and you could see down the bay that Sandals is in. And it's like, they called it the zebra because there was like black sand, white sand, black sand, white sand. And they said Sandals actually imported the sand. And that to me is like next level. They bring in so much foliage. He said something, however many tons and tons of grass that he brought, just to make sure every, part of Sandals is, the Sandals Resorts are always so lush and so perfect and stuff, like every little detail like grass. Anyways, so they brought in white sand because the sand here with the black sand can get so hot. I grew up in Oregon, and just thinking about in the middle of the summer when the sun's really shining on, like, it's kind of more like a brown, Pacific coast sand is hot on your feet. So I cannot imagine the black sand. They said that it can even be to the point where you can like burn your skin with the black sand. So Sandals brought in white sand. So you have a white sand beach in St. Vincent. Like, that to me is next level. So that is something different. I don't think they've done that to my knowledge at any other Sandals, but they think of all those little tiny details. They also have a really neat overwater chapel. It holds up to 45 people. And at sunset, I have a video on my TikTok of the sunset with a chapel, and it is so beautiful. I think this would be perfect for a destination wedding. I would keep in mind the price point at Sandals St. Vincent. They're going to be the most expensive all-inclusive in the Caribbean, and this one's going to be the most expensive of the most expensive. So you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about your guests coming and how much they're going to have to spend to come to your wedding. Because sometimes I'll say to brides, okay, so like if, one of my friends from work invited me to their wedding, it was going to cost me $7,000 to go to her wedding. She would have to be my real good friend to want to spend $7,000 to go to her wedding. But also keep in mind, this is probably a bucket list destination. It's not like, I'm going to pay $7,000 to go to Minnesota. So no offense, Minnesota, but just saying, I'm picking a random place. But this is definitely a bucket list type of place. And if you had the overwater chapel, you have to pay a little bit of a premium for it. I think it's like $750, but they do have a complimentary wedding package for if you're staying 7 nights in club level. I can always go over that with people, but it is, to me, it looks like something out of a movie. So that they have overwater chapels at a few other places, but this one is the best one.
And part of the reason for that expense is Sandals goes above and beyond. One of the things we heard from the founder yesterday, or when Adam spoke, they're a luxury all-inclusive brand, and they were the very first luxury all-inclusive. And he said they have the option to put in, building after building and just fill the beach, with thousands of rooms. And instead, they have 301 rooms here. So it's more of a private vibe. To me, it feels more like what you would expect with a vacation. Mm-hmm. So you're not, on a cruise ship or something like that at a destination where you're shoulder to shoulder with people the entire time. There's a lot of breathing room. It feels fun. It's a good environment.
And we know what it feels like sold out because they did fill every single room. Some of the sales reps that came to help and work the event, they actually are staying off property because all of the rooms were completely booked. So we do know what a sold out resort feels like, and it's pretty awesome. Another thing that I'm excited about, and we're actually going to try it tonight, is they have a new restaurant concept called Boucan's. And Boucan's is different because it is family style and group dining. And that is something that is like totally breaking the mold for what a normal Sandals dining thing is. Like when I went to Sandals Sandals Dunn's River a couple months ago, I was with a couple of my friends, and we were like table for three, and that like kind of throws them off because everything's in twos with Sandals. But this one, you actually go and you sit with other people. And there's like 11 restaurants. You can go eat somewhere else if you don't want to sit with random people you don't know. But how perfect is that for if you're traveling with a small group too? I mean, we have a reservation tonight for 8 people, and they're just going to bring out the food. And people are telling me, they're like, you fill up on the appetizers and you think this is like plenty of food, and then they're going to bring you even more food. But Boucan's is like a new concept here at Sandals St Vincent that I'm really excited to try. And there's a few other restaurants that are different that I've never seen at other Sandals too. So if you're a big Sandals person and you want to try some new restaurants, this is a really good choice. And then the beach is swimmable, lots of water sports, and the dock leaves from here. The dock leaves from here. That sounds funny. No, the boats leave from the dock right here on the beach. So that is something like, let's say at Sandals La Toc, the boats can't leave from there because the water's too rough. So you shuttle over to Grand, and then you leave from Sandals Grand. Here, the boats can come right to the dock that they have built right here. It's actually down by the wedding chapel, and they have the overwater bungalows down there. And you can leave for, like, they had a catamaran trip that left right from there, and scuba diving that leaves right from here. So that's definitely something that I think is important to divers, to be able to leave right from the hotel, because you're tired when you're also getting up really early. All the things. I like to say all the things a lot, apparently.
Yeah.
And but I think that kind of encompasses what I'm talking about, is all the things, all the reasons that you would want to leave from a hotel, from having that water sport option right here. Yeah. If you really want waves, this is maybe not going to be your jam, because it is a quiet beach. But I feel like the wave request, unless you're like a surfer or kid, is kind of not there.
But one of the benefits with that, and this is one of the few Sandals that offers water skiing. So I have seen a few water skiers that are actually out in the bay. And probably because it's so calm, it's easy to get out there.
Yeah, and they do have calm beaches at a lot of them, but it also can depend. The water skiing can depend on the reef. On like the location of the reef, on how they can do those kind of ski boats and stuff. So water skiing, I think that's really neat. They also have tubes, and I think wakeboards, because they had it at Sandals Dunn's River too. And that hotel was another favorite, another really good one. They're calling this Sandals 2.0. Somebody yesterday goes, more like 2.5. But really, honestly, there's such a huge variety of them, because they've been around since 1981. I was born in 1981, so I always remember the 1981 thing. But they've been around since 81, and they still, Sandals Montego Bay is the original one. And that one's been fully renovated, so it does have a completely new look to it. But some of them, they're still in the process of renovating. So these new ones, they've thought of everything. I want to talk about something that is different, and it's getting kind of like a little bit like people all riled up on my TikTok. So I did a room tour, and I videoed the bathroom, and I said, I just want to point out there is no outlets in the bathroom. And then hashtag bring an extension cord if you really want to blow dry your hair in the bathroom. And the reason is, and actually one of the Sandals people told me that there is a law in St. Vincent, and it's like a safety hazard thing, where you can't have electric outlets in bathrooms. So people are like, I live in St. Vincent and I have electric outlet in my bathroom, all kinds of, and then some people are like chiming in, not on new construction, or this is, another person said, yeah, that's why people get their home inspected by the government, and then they add the electric outlets after. But of course a hotel like Sandals can't do that. Like, hey, government, come inspect, and then now I'm going to come back in and add these electric outlets and break the law. But that is something that I think is just different about, different places. Everybody has different rules. You just have to be flexible when you travel. I think that's the key, is you have to just be flexible when you travel. And they have a little desk with a mirror and a light and an outlet. It's just not in the bathroom. I didn't bring an extension cord. But that is, something you just have to be aware of and just be ready for. They do have a lot of the European plugs as well. So I feel like I've had enough outlet usage. I mean, there's one on each side of the bed that's in the US outlets. There's more of the other kind. So if you want to be able, if you're like, I need to plug in 14 things at the same time, then I guess bring some adapters. So that's, people that complain about stuff like that are not my people. So this has been fun talking about Sandals. I am actually doing this recording from my suite here at Sandals. It has a media room, which is like a big, huge couch and big TV. And then you walk down the little hall and it has a wet bar. And then there's a bathroom and then the big bedroom area with another TV. And then this is actually a corner swim out. So I'm going to turn my camera and show y'all. It's so awesome. Isn't that amazing? So it goes to probably, I would say 10 or 15 rooms that you can like swim. And so one of the nights after we were all hanging out, we all came and ordered pizza and had, sat in the pool. And it has the little sun decks that, that are everybody's building in their pools at home. It has that where you can lay just with in a couple of inches of water, or you can go down into the pool. So I really like that. This resort, honestly, if you're ready to come, they have these beachfront villas, and there's not a single week, I think, for the rest of the year that you can come and stay for a whole week in a beach villa. So you need to start booking for 2025. But we would love to help you plan Sandals St. Vincent or any St. Vincent. Let's book Vincent. Let's book St. Vincent with Vincent Vacations. Always, because I love an alliteration, and I love the little name thing. I love it all. But thanks for joining me today. I think you did okay, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
I might let you be on another podcast.
Oh, thank you.
He actually just quit his corporate job a couple of months ago, and he is full-time Vincent Vacations now. And so he's going to be traveling with me a little bit more. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my podcast today. I am Lia Vincent. You can reach out to me anytime at Vincent Vacations on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. And just reach out to me. You don't need to reach out to him, so we won't even have him say his information. But we appreciate you listening, and thank you so much. Bye.